Hello, welcome to our webinar Solar PV Development in Kerala, India, ANERT's Role and Opportunities in the Sector. I hope you are doing good in this special time. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Ajith Gopi, with us for this webinar. Mr. Ajith Gopi, he is currently heading Technical Consultancy in Solar PV Projects and Wind Energy Program at ANERT, the state nodal agency for renewable energy under the Department of Government of India. Mr. Ajit has got more than 30 years of experience in renewable energy field. He holds an MTech from College of Engineering Trivandrum, an MBA from Indira Gandhi National Open University, and an international diploma in wind power development from Life Academy, Sweden. He has conceptualized and implemented Kerala's first remote solar village electrification project, which brought light to thousands of remote tribal families in Kerala. The project included solar microgrids and thousands of solar home systems in remote tribal hamlets in Kerala. Under his leadership, ANERT has commissioned 2 megawatts IPP PV plants projects. So today we have an webinar agenda of runtime of 45 minutes, introduction of the webinar and speaker, overview of ANERT and its role in Kerala RE targets, business model of solar PV plants in the state, microgrids implemented by ANERT, solar IPP projects by ANERT, case study of rooftop solar implemented in technical consultancy schemes, PV plant projects, PV microgrid in remote tribal colonies, and then we have a short Q&A session. So I'll be handing my controls to Mr. Ajit. And
So thanks, Anmol, for the introduction, and my greetings to all of you, and thanking Solar Study for giving me this opportunity to speak on ANERT, the prestigious state nodal agency under the Power Department of Government of Kerala. It is under the Government of Kerala, and of course it is a state nodal agency under the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. So I'll be speaking on the role of ANERT, the renewable energy prospects and perspectives of the state of Kerala, of course the opportunities there, our major projects, and then I will be taking on the some of the major achievements we have done. Then I will be going to a case study, couple of case studies to give you an idea of what exactly ANERT is doing in the renewable energy sector. So it will be a very short webinar, but of course you have an opportunity to give a snapshot of what exactly we are doing. So thank you all again for attending or joining me. So first of all, I will go to the overview of ANERT and its role in the renewable energy sector. Of course, you know that the state of Kerala has been facing the consequences of climate change. We are also facing. So climate change is real here in Kerala as well, like we are facing its threats. In 2007 December, we faced Gopi cyclone. In 2018, we faced the worst flood of the century. And 2019 it repeated, and 2020 we also seen a big landslide in northern states. So we are also facing the big the climate change issues. Of course, renewable energy is the best solution to fight climate change and global warming. And there is every reason to believe that it will succeed. If you look at the global happenings, the most of the installations happening around the world is in renewable energy alone when compared to the fossil fuels. And out of that, solar installations are happening in the biggest way, with a lot of concentration, with a lot of achievements in its face. Coming to ANERT. ANERT is a state nodal agency under the Power Department of Government of Kerala. It is, of course, the state nodal agency of the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. ANERT was established in 1986. By its activities, by its propagation activities in the renewable energy field, ANERT became the synonym for renewable energy activities in the states. Give a snapshot of what exactly ANERT is. ANERT established in 1986, and of course, a lot of renewable energy activities started in the state of Kerala. The beginning was a central program, Integrated Rural Energy Program, which we implemented in different blocks throughout the state, and later we converted it to district-wise programs. Along with that, we initiated a lot of renewable energy activities. We started wind mapping right from 1989, and mid-90s we completed a first phase of the wind resource assessment. It is done at 20-meter heights. It is done by erecting wind masts at 20-meter heights all over Kerala. And along with that, the solar photovoltaic program also started. The humble beginning was with the solar home systems, street lighting systems, off-grid PV plants, small miniature solar power plants, etc., etc. Our grid-connected journey started with in 2000 when we installed a 25 kilowatt grid interactive PV plant back in 2000. It was a pioneer project in terms of the grid-connected solar power plant. And we started as a big project, as a solar village electrification project. Phase 1 in 2001, and the second phase in 2001-2002. We got central government subsidy for that. We got a central financial assistance for that. It was a wonderful program. I was heading the program, fortunately. That program included the remote electrification of tribal colonies. We have given lights to tribal colonies. Around 20,000 homes were electrified with the solar. And of course, we had a very nice experiment of installing solar microgrids back in 2000 itself. It was all in tribal dedicated colonies where you cannot access that places, where you have to trek into that areas. We installed there in areas where there is no conventional lines are there. Then came the National Solar Mission. The Government of India announced it. And ANERT also started with complying with the National Solar Mission. And we started with a very interesting solar IPP project. I'll be speaking on that here. The first solar IPP project in Kerala, and a 2 megawatt Kuzhalmannam solar project. And along with that, the solar wind power development also started. It started in the 90s itself with a 2.025 megawatt installation by KCB. Later, ANERT took the initiative, and we did a lot of IPP projects totaling to 70 megawatts, mostly in Idukki and Palakkad. And of course, we have won a lot of on-grid and off-grid campaigns based on MNRE programs, Government of India programs. And now ANERT is positioning as a technical consultant as well to government organizations, also to private organizations. We are consultants. ANERT do consultancy. We will take consultancy for due diligence, for DPR, for financial analysis, for total engineering solutions, for the plan monitoring, installation, testing, and commissioning. So this is a snapshot of our history. And this is a rooftop building of rooftop solar project, which is an off-grid project. We installed it 5 years back, powering our light energy needs. And our state is actually not self-reliant in power generation. As you know, state imports around 70% of its energy from the central grid. And we generate only 30% of it internally. Of course, should be a strategic move to generate power from renewables, especially from solar energy, because it's abundant. We have abundant solar energy here, and also state government is also initiating a lot of steps for wind power development as well. We have a plan for a 200 megawatt wind power development immediately, and with all in mind, especially for the solar program. The state government has initiated Urja mission, which targets 1000 megawatt by 2022. I will detail all these things in the coming slides. This is a new initiative by the government, Urja mission, 1000 megawatt by 2022. It is 2022. So out of that, 500 megawatt is from solar rooftops, and 200 megawatt from the ground model project, 150 megawatt from floating solar, another 150 from other measures. So primarily we are aiming at 500 megawatt from the solar rooftops. And if you come to the solar resources in Kerala, we have pretty good solar resources. When you look at the sun peak hours in Kerala, solar energy professionals call it as sun peak hours. You have around 5.5 kilowatt hour per meter square per day. It comes to around 2000 kilowatt hour per meter square per year, which is pretty good for solar photovoltaic installations. That means we have more than 300 sunny days. We do have rain, but still, even though we have rain, we have pretty good installation. We will get around 2000 kilowatt hour per meter square per day annually, which is a good figure when compared to the northern side of India. When coming to the states, pretty good. Just like around 5.5 figure is there for the global horizontal irradiation, GHI. But DNI, direct normal irradiation, is trailing. You cannot go for a solar thermal power plant here. Of course, you can go for a solar photovoltaic power plant. And coming to the wind energy, if we have more than 69 megawatt of wind energy installed here, most of the wind farms are coming in Idukki district and Palakkad districts, because those are the potential districts where we have a tremendous wind there. And of course, the latest potential, it was something above 800 was the initial potential from the study by CVET. Now CVET is named as National Institute of Wind Energy. And NIVE has come up with a latest study, a meso micro scale modeling, and also blending with a 100-meter study. They have come up with a potential of 1700 megawatts for the state. It's pretty interesting. Also, we are going to invest on it. If you look at wind energy scenario also, you could see the red spots, which is having more than 30 km per hour wind speed, which the wind power is with very high wind speed here. So it's almost in the western Ghat area, but still we have a lot of wind energy sites. That's all about our introduction, about the role of ANERT and where ANERT positions. So ANERT actually, it is, as I said, it is under the Department of Power, of course, guided by an executive committee, and of course, we are getting guidance and control from the state government under the power department, guided by respected Sri M. Mani sir, our respected electricity minister. And I will be telling about some of the business models, microgrids, solar IPP projects, and some of the examples here. If you look at Kerala, it is very difficult to develop big solar power plants here, because we don't have much space, just like Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. We cannot go for a bigger land-based solar farms. That's why we are concentrating on on-grid and off-grid and hybrid rooftop solar power plants. Of course, rooftop power plants. Mostly grid-connected or on-grid solar power plants coming into picture in both CapEx and OpEx models. And ground-mounted, if you look at ground-mounted, you can only go for uncultivated land, abandoned quarries, or unutilized land, because we have limitations. See, it is very precious when compared to the other states. We don't have much space here. And of course, you have a tremendous possibility to develop solar in land neutral areas. It's called the floating solar power plant or photovoltaics the technologies. It's becoming more important, especially after the Fukushima disaster. Japan started investing much on it. You have a lot of floating solar power plants in Japan around. See, the attraction here is we have a lot of lakes and reservoirs, so tremendous opportunities, definitely tremendous opportunities. And of course, we have we can have solar projects for rooftop and canal top, highway rooftop, etc., which is another possibility because we have highways where we can utilize that space because land-based solar projects are limited here. And of course, in areas where you need microgrids, actually we did some, I'll be giving some examples on microgrids here. There are isolated places here where you cannot bring light, the conventional electricity there, where we will go for microgrids. So these are the possibilities here in Kerala. Of course, if you go for solar, it's clean, it's a decentralized solution, modular, can do any kind of solar power plant. Miniature, solar power pack, rooftop, off-grid, on-grid, solar farm. So tremendous possibilities. And of course, very short gestation period and easy maintenance. So I'll start with some of the microgrids we did back in 2000, 2003. I'm sharing my experience. These microgrids actually was some of the experiments of us, how these microgrids can be established in places. So we did some interesting studies with engineers, mostly in tribal settlements. We established tiny microgrids, solar microgrids. We just trekked into these places where these families live, tribal families live. We will find some open place, put the solar panel there. There will be a control area where we will put the batteries as well, and we will convert that to AC and distribute to the local system. So that was a fantastic experiment, of course with battery, because we don't have connectivity there. So we did it in this kind of experiment in Idukki districts, Malappuram districts, Wayanad, Thrissur districts. So this power plants was a nice experiment in terms of solar microgrids. I will give you some examples of solar microgrids we have done. This is a photo from the Chambakat tribal colony we did back in 2000. It was 5.6 kilowatt peak. And this is in Mulaganga tribal colony in Sholayur Grama Panchayat in Palakkad. And this was in Vachumaram in Thrissur district. And this kind of projects are actually, the span was short because of battery life, and most of the areas we got electricity, conventional electricity now. Back in 2000, we never had electricity there. So these are the kind of things we can do for electrifying areas where there is no conventional electricity there. And we did some solar home systems as well, around 20,000 solar home systems for remote tribal hamlets actually. It's like a simple home systems, there will be a simple hut, they need simple lighting. That was a tremendous experiment supported by government of India. And later we shifted into the off-grid sector also into a very great initiative, one of the best initiatives in India. It was 1,000 solar rooftop program, 10,000 solar rooftop program. It's not 1,000, 10,000 solar rooftop program. You are installing 1 kilowatt peak on each rooftop, totaling to 10 megawatts. So that was a wonderful program we did. Actually, we commissioned the 10,000 solar rooftop. It was something like one of the best programs, and many other states um, copied us the strategy and implementation methods from us. That was a wonderful program, and all these solar power plants are still operating. And that was about the solar off-grid, and I will highlight some of the some other programs we have done. I mentioned to you the biggest project of ANERT is the first solar IPP project. This was the first IPP, independent power producer project in the state in terms of solar energy. We did this experiment as in our own land. We dug this land into a solar farm, around 7.4 acres of land in Kuzhalmannam Grama Panchayat area. We have some land there. We are evacuating power to the local utility KCB grid, Kerala State Electricity Board grid. And this is with the crystalline silicon modules only. And generating around 30 lakhs of units annually, around 8,000 units per day. It's working wonderfully. And coming to, I'll be explaining much about it later in the case study. Coming to the water bodies of Kerala, I told you about the potential in Kerala regarding solar photovoltaics. Kerala is very famous for its international tourism circles, its greenery and educated people for its unique water bodies. The state has 44 rivers, 27 backwaters and 7 lagoons, which covers 40% of its geographical area. Even the biggest lake having more than 200 square kilometer of area. We have a lot of dams, and much of it under the control of state electricity board. So that means dam reservoirs. So I'm trying to say that we have a lot of areas, water body areas, where you can go for solar. See, we have a limitation of space, ground space for installing solar power plants. It's just because the density of population is very high even compared to the other states. So why can't we utilize these areas? So in fact, the state government is very favorable in this line. So we have a lot of freshwater lakes, dam reservoirs. So this is the trend now. Internationally also, a lot of solar power plants, solar floating power plants coming. You might have read about a Singapore experiment. They have a interesting test bed of floating solar photovoltaic power plants. It is experiments from 11 type of solar floating plants are there. Experiment from 8 different countries. So we have a pretty good opportunity to develop solar farms here in our water bodies, which will make us self-reliant in solar, self-reliant in power. There is no doubt about that. I told you in the beginning, we are importing 70% of power and only generating 30% of power. Of course, in Kerala, Kerala needs to be self-reliant in terms of power. So the water bodies gives tremendous opportunities to us to develop solar photovoltaic plants in these water bodies for floating solar power plants. I'll give an example of a floating solar power plant done by State Electricity Board. It is a 500 kilowatt peak solar power plant. It's more than 50,000 square feet area of floating solar power plants and around 2,000 solar panels in 18 ferrocement floats. Each solar panel was 260 watts. It was the first in the country, first mid-size floating solar power plant, working very much fine. And we have a lot of upcoming projects in Kerala. I told you it's pretty good to go with this kind of experiment. National Hydropower Corporation, NSPC, is going ahead with a 50 megawatt in West Kallada in Kollam. The tender process is going on for this. And NTPC is, of course, they have initiated a large solar photovoltaic project in Kayankulam. And BHEL has initiated some big study, a detailed survey for a 22 megawatt solar plants. So these are the projects in the pipeline. More than 500 megawatt can be easily made on floating solar projects in the states, which to some extent can solve our energy crisis. So looking at the potential of ground-mounted, I told you about the ground-mounted projects. If you, I'm just recollecting some of the research done by World Wildlife Fund and World Institute of Sustainability, WISE, an organization based out of Pune. They made a study for the feasibility of solar rooftops in the states. This is about the ground-mounted projects. Actually, they, based on the availability, they projected 4,000 megawatts. Of course, 1,000 megawatt we can make with the ground-mounted. When you go for the rooftop, it is not in the slides. They made a projection of 13,000 megawatt for residential rooftops and 18,000 megawatt for industrial commercial rooftop. I'll repeat, 13,000 megawatt for domestic rooftop and 18,000 megawatts for industrial commercial rooftops. So totally 31,000 megawatt projected by WISE based on a GIS study and availability of space and all. This is in the slide you are seeing only ground mounted. So the total 31,000 megawatt, if you take 10% of the 31,000 megawatt of ground solar rooftop potential, it will be out of 30,000, you take it 10%, it will be 3,000. Pretty good figure, right? 33,000 from solar alone. You know, we all know that solar is having a very short gestation period. Within a very short span, you can, with a couple of days, you can install in your house rooftop. So achievable. Solar is going in that way technologically, advancing in that way. It has reached the grid parity. Every year 10% of the cost is reducing. So it's like you have a tremendous opportunity of installing solar power on rooftop. Very interesting thing. So this projection means, see, more than 2,900 megawatt is installed capacity of Kerala. If you look at that installed capacity and see the potential of 3,000 megawatts, it's something like a tremendous opportunity for Kerala. If you look at case study, I'll go to the third session, the case study session. I have another 15 minutes for this. I'll give some details about the 2 megawatt Kuzhalmannam project and also some of the medium rooftop projects we did as part of the ANERT did as part of the consultancy program. Going to the Kuzhalmannam project again, this project actually, it houses more than 7,704 exactly solar photovoltaic power plants. In fact, our idea was we had a land parcel there, around 12 acres of land. We still have balance 4 acres there for developing for some renewable energy research area. Around more than 7 acres have been developed for this solar farm. And this is with the, this was the first academic project as well for ANERT, like this is for our experiment as well. So this project actually having 2 islands. One island is a road dividing between 2 islands. And this project is actually inaugurated and commissioned by Honorable M.M. Mani Sir, Electricity Minister, Honorable M.M. Mani Sir, on December, in January actually, it was commissioned in January 2017, exactly 23rd of January, and it was commissioned on 9th December 2006. by Honorable Minister. And this project is very near to a government polytechnic there. So the building, the road to the polytechnic divides two islands there. The interesting thing is, in the control room we have a solar radiation resource assessment station, which is something unique here. Like we are doing a solar resource assessment as well as we are joining with the National Institute of Wind Energy, a Government of India institution, putting up a solar resource assessment SRRI station there, looking at the solar radiation resource there. And this Palakkad is pretty good for solar energy, though it's a tropical area. It doesn't affect much. You have more than around more than 35 degrees centigrade during the summer season. It tops to above 40 degrees centigrade. So module temperature peaks to 60 degrees centigrade. So of course that is something negative. You have a negative temperature coefficient for the solar panels. Still, it supplements because of the installation we are getting. So if you look at the solar installation there, solar, you have pretty good sun peak hours during March, April and May. And of course, there will be dip during June, July, August, especially during the last terrific rainy years of 2018, 19 and 20. We have terrific rain here, and of course, there was dip in solar generation. But looks like we have pretty good generation there. Even though we have the initial generation was very good, tremendous generation, and the light induced degradation, of course, after that there will be a slight decrease. After the LID, we have around good installation, good solar generation there, and this is being fed to the KCB, the grid, KCB local grid. And a very interesting thing is, we have more than 98%. If it is connected, though it is connected to a local grid, we have more than 98%. I just analyzed the last year's data. It is more than 98% of grid availability. And of course, around 90, it's almost that amount of around 98% itself is the plant availability. The plant availability is connected with the grid availability as well. And there is another peculiarity that we have an auxiliary supply generated from a solar rooftop there. Actually, there is a small rooftop power plant there, along with this giant solar farm, which gives the auxiliary power to the plant. Generally, if you look at any other kind of plant, there will be auxiliary supply from the utility. Here, the auxiliary supply, the yard lighting is taken up from the same plant. And it was very, very, very difficult structure, I should say. It was something like this shape. The shape was like this. When you make the deployment plan, we have several constraints there. If you look at the Google map, you can see a lot of greenery also there, and the polytechnic also here, and that is about the grid. Because I don't have much time to speak about it. I switch to some of the solar power plants I did as part of the consultancy program initiative from ANERT. I'm heading the consultancy division there. You could see a wonderful solar power plant in the city, very near to the seashore. It's a 200 kilowatt amazing PV power plant at Ganga Yamuna building at the top of the Technopark Trivandrum building. It's the third phase of Technopark. Technopark, as you know, to my North Indian students, North Indian friends who are attending, and people around the globe, Technopark, as you know, Keralites may be familiar, but people outside Kerala may not be familiar, but it's the largest IT park in the state. It's expanding. It's one of the jewels of the state government in terms of the IT development. and where we had an opportunity to consult as a consultancy given to the, so we are the government organization, we are positioning as a consultant was my idea. ANERT's idea, pretty good idea. 5 years back, 5, 6 years, 7 years back, I should say. 7 years back, we developed this idea to position ourselves as a consultant and install solar power plants for the bigger institutions. The institutions, mostly government institutions. So government institutions approach us with a different kind of motives. It can be something like a feasibility study. It can be something like a detailed project report, DPR. It can be something like a technical document, a RFQ, or a tender document, something like that. And it can be something like installation monitoring, total engineering solutions, and it can be something like due diligence. So we are happy to involve us owners engineers, lenders engineers, all the consultant roles, and of course doing due diligence as well for mid rooftops and all the rooftops. So preferably bigger rooftops because a lot of other installations are happening here. So this Technopark project is something like a very interesting project. The Caltron was the EPC for it. The state government organization was Caltron is the state government organization who did this project for us with the 648 PV modules, with the 315 watt peak Renesas modules, and with ABB inverters, 50 kilowatt ABB inverters. So wonderful project. Actually, you can see it through two buildings here. It's a tin tower. You can see one is Ganna building and it's Yamuna building. You can see sea from here, very near to the seashore. So it's a the protection is given to the structure as well. And this is another interesting project to highlight. You can see the Vathakunatha Temple here in Thrissur, in Idukki district. Sorry, in Thrissur district. It's a famous temple in Kerala. It's also a 200 kilowatt project. We have done it for a licensee. Thrissur Corporation, the corporation in the state, Thrissur Corporation is also a licensee. They were a licensee years back, 100 years back. They have the tradition of being a licensee. So they approached us to meet their RPO obligation, renewable energy purchase obligation, to meet their purchase obligation, RPO. So we were ready to give them consultancy. We did this 200 kilowatt wonderful project. We evacuated it to a 11 kV feeder through a ring main. Very interesting project, I should say that. I could give you one more picture. See, the very interesting thing is you can see the environmental impact. I did this assessment using red screen. Red screen, I think the PV professionals know about it, solar study people know about it. Red screen is a wonderful software by the government of Canada. I've been using it for the last 10, 12 years for my consultancy requirements, ANERT consultancy requirements. So this is, if you do some kind of analysis, it's a wonderful software, you do the analysis, you will get the GHG reduction, greenhouse gas reduction of 340 tons of carbon dioxide annually. And of course, it's equivalent to 62 cars avoiding from the atmosphere. It is equivalent to 788 barrels of crude oil not consumed. It's also equivalent to 77 acres of forest absorbing carbon. See, a small, medium rooftops can do this kind of wonderful things in terms of environmental protection. This is something amazing thing. See, each of us can contribute. If you install a small power plant on your rooftop, of course you will be contributing to the environment, especially in this situation where the carbon dioxide concentration is more than 410 parts per million. Yes, it is above 410 parts per million. It was around 360, 380. I remember when I was taking classes during 2000, it was 380 or something, 370 or something like that. I never thought that this will reach to cross 400. Unfortunately, it reached crossed in 2013 in Mauna Lana Observation Center. We observed that the daily average became above 400 parts per million. It was, of course, catastrophic, and now it is around. We observed a hottest July, one of the hottest July in 2020 and 2019. Both combined, it was hottest Julys. When we look at thousands of years back, or maybe when the observation started. So okay. I'll give you one more example of the meet rooftop we have done for campus. It's a campus university project. It's a campus project. I have done this project as part of the ANERT's deposit scheme. Actually, it's a 100 kilowatt solar project, accomplished by ANERT. When the university approached us for their greener targets to make self-sustainable in terms of energy, we did a 100 kilowatt project. Very interesting project on their Golden Jubilee building at the Karivattam campus. Actually, the university is again approaching us to offset the whole electrical energy requirement there. So we are going for that project actually. It's about 1,600 or 1.6 megawatt we are going to install in the Kerala University, which is something like first of its kind, which offsets the 100% needs of electricity needs of the university. So it will become a carbon-free university, something like a carbon-neutral university. Amazing project coming up actually in terms of the university project. It will be under the consultancy scheme. So look at the generation here in Kerala, typical generation for academic students, a small snapshot of what exactly coming from the SCADA here. You can see the yellow, it is the kilowatt peak. It's a solar installation. This red one is the kilowatt hour generation coming up. So it's an analogy with it. It's a perfect analogy. You can see the clouds. It's typical Trivandrum kind of Kerala kind of curve. You cannot see this kind of curve in Chennai. Chennai, you have dry, you don't have much clouds. But if you have clouds, you have this dips and ups and downs here. You have 550 kilowatt hour per day. That means pretty good 5.5 kilowatt hour per meter square per day. Something like 5.5 units per kilowatt. Pretty interesting. So I'm just concluding. My time is also limited. I'm just introducing one thing. I think you might have read about it. It's a donut economics. I read it from the economist, the famous economist Kate Raworth. She's from the Netherlands. She invented the model, donut economics. It says about the ideal state built with a social foundation. Of course, the social foundation is there, and there will be an ecological ceiling. It's very much true in the case of Kerala. We are environmentally fragile, as I mentioned about our latest climate change effects and things happening. So, see, the state of Kerala has an excellent society with a 100% literacy rate, excellent local governments, Panchayati Raj system implemented in the country. And so we have a very good social foundation. With that, we are fighting the worst pandemic, the COVID-19. We are far ahead if you consider with other countries and all. So it's like it's a real fight from our real warriors of police, state government fight. It's a kind of a fight for social. It's with the social foundation, I should say. So we have a pretty good foundation, and with this foundation, of course, we need to build a ecological ceiling. That is the thing I have to stress here. See, Kerala, you have the, Kerala has the Western Ghats here. Very near to that, the sea is also there. So we need to have a very good sustainable projects coming up. So we have to make a sustainable strategy for building up our energy strategy. So lot of projects should come on solar and wind. So donut economics work with Kerala. As Catwalk says, it's according to me, it's something like perfect for Kerala, since we have a very good social foundation with a very good literacy, very good people, very good knowledge, connectivity, social networks, local self-governments, excellent administration, and with that, you can go with an ecological ceiling, not to disturb your ocean acidification, not to disturb your climate, don't to disturb your fresh water, you don't disturb your ozone layer. So this is something pretty good for Kerala. And of course, this crisis, the COVID crisis, presents an opportunity to build more equal and sustainable societies to us. We have to shape up ourselves as leaders. It presents an opportunity. Like, no, we take this challenge as an opportunity to build a sustainable society. See, if you look at Kerala, it's the Sustainable Development Index is something above 8. There is some measure on that. It's like, as I said, it is something like with the ecological ceiling, how you go with your strategy to develop the state. So it's a great opportunity for us to go with the solar energy, with renewable energy, and ANERT is taking its steps to go ahead with that. We are trying, and the state government and ANERT is trying our very best to go with the more carbon neutral and renewable energy projects and making the states green and fine. So that's the end of my presentation, humble presentation. As I said earlier, there is no planet B. So we have to love our planet. We have to leave our planet for our future children. Thank you. I have my emails here. My official email and my IEEE email is also there. You can take it down.
Thank you, Mr. Ajith, for this insightful presentation. Surely there is no planet B with us right now. And as we are running short of time, there are a few questions, but as we are running short of time, I think I'll be reverting those questions directly to you on your email ID, and I'll be coming back to the questioners with an answer from you. I welcome you all again. I thank you all again for attending this webinar. I hope everyone got some insights about the solar plans in state of Kerala and how they are implementing their plant and plans, and how they are facing all the tackling all the difficulties and challenges. And yeah, it was very great to have you on board, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anmol. Thank you, Solar Study again. Thank you all the listeners for listening to me very short of time. Like, you know, we have a snapshot of things only, but it was a great opportunity to share my experience and share my thoughts with you. Great. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to the Solar Study.